They say you never really know someone until you're looking at their screen when they don't know you're there. My name is Elena. For 3 years, I believed I was living the modern American dream in a leafy suburb of North Carolina. I had a 1.5-carat diamond on my left hand, a mortgage with a man named Mark who looked like he stepped out of a J. Crew catalog, and a wedding Pinterest board that was curated down to the shade of the napkins. Mark was a provider. That's what my mother called him. He was a senior analyst at a firm in Charlotte, stable, predictable, and apparently a pathological liar. It started with the focus mode. You know that little moon icon on iPhones? Mark started keeping his phone face down on the nightstand about 6 months ago. He said it was for his mental health. He said the blue light was ruining his circadian rhythm. I believed him because why wouldn't I? Trust is a slow-growing tree. You don't expect someone to chop it down in the middle of the night. The cracks didn't appear all at once. They were hairline fractures. A late night at the office that didn't quite match the traffic reports. The smell of a specific, expensive sandalwood cologne that I hadn't bought for him. And then the notification. It was a Tuesday, 6:14 p.m. Mark was in the shower, the steam billowing out from under the door. His iPad was sitting on the kitchen island, plugged into the charger. Usually it was passcode protected, but he must have been rushed. A banner notification slid down from the top of the screen. Sasha 22. I can't stop thinking about Friday night. When am I seeing you again? The icon next to the name wasn't iMessage. It was a flame. The Tinder logo. My heart didn't race. It didn't pound. It felt like it simply stopped beating, leaving a cold, hollow vacuum in my chest. I stared at the screen until it went dark. Then I reached out. My fingers were trembling so violently I almost dropped it. I tapped the screen. It was unlocked. I didn't just find a profile. I found a gallery of a man I didn't recognize. There were photos of Mark, my Mark, taken in mirrors of hotel rooms I'd never seen. He looked younger in them, meaner. His bio didn't mention a fiancé. It didn't mention the house we were renovating. It said, successful, adventurous, looking for someone who knows how to keep a secret. I scrolled through the messages. There wasn't just one Sasha. There was a Heather, a Chloe, a Mistress M. The messages went back months. While I was picking out floral arrangements, Mark was sending lewd photos from the bathroom of our favorite steakhouse. While I was crying over my father's funeral, he was ghosting a girl in Raleigh because she got too clingy. I heard the shower turn off, the squeak of the handle, the sliding of the glass door. I put the iPad back exactly where it was. I walked to the living room, sat on our $4,000 sofa, and picked up a book. My hands were steady now. The shock had passed, replaced by a cold, crystalline clarity. When Mark walked out, drying his hair with a towel, looking every bit the perfect fiancé, he smiled at me. Hey, babe. What's for dinner? I looked up from my book. I didn't see a husband. I saw a target. I was thinking something cold, I said. Maybe a salad? Perfect, he beamed. I'm starving. He had no idea. He was already dead to me. He just hadn't realized it yet. The next morning, I didn't confront him. That's the mistake most women make. They scream, they throw a vase, they pack a bag, and they leave. And then what? The man keeps the house, keeps the reputation, and tells everyone his crazy ex lost her mind. No. I wanted more than an apology. I wanted his world to catch fire while I toasted marshmallows over the embers. I waited until he left for work. I called out of my job. I'm a data architect, ironically enough. I know how to find things that people think are deleted. I sat down at my desk and started a spreadsheet. I called it Project Terminus. I needed to know the extent of the rot. I logged into our shared Amazon account. I looked at the hidden orders. There it was, jewelry sent to an address in Greensboro. Lingerie, sizes that weren't mine, sent to a P.O. box. I spent 8 hours that first day just mapping the timeline. He wasn't just cheating, he was financing a double life with our wedding fund. We had a high-yield savings account that we both contributed to. I checked the balance. It was $22,000 short. He had been skimming. 1,000 here, 500 there. He thought I wouldn't notice because I trusted him to handle the big finances. Around 2 p.m., my best friend, Sarah, called. She's a lawyer, the kind who enjoys the smell of blood in a courtroom. Elena, I found the venue for the bridal shower. It's gorgeous. Are you free to look at pictures? I stared at my spreadsheet, at the list of women Mark had slept with while I was at my grandmother's bedside. Sarah, I said, my voice sounding like it was coming from a long way off. I need you to come over. And bring your laptop. I need to know the laws regarding shared assets and digital privacy in this state. There was a long silence on the other end. Sarah knows my tone. She knows when I'm work Elena, the one who solves impossible coding bugs. Did he hit you? She asked, her voice dropping an octave. No, I replied. He did something much more expensive. When Sarah arrived an hour later, I showed her the spreadsheet. I showed her the screenshots I had taken of his Tinder profile and the messages. I showed her the bank statements. Sarah sat back, her face pale. Elena, this isn't just an affair. This is financial fraud. He's been using your signature for some of these transfers. I know, I said. And that's why I'm not leaving. Not yet. What are you going to do? I looked out the window at the beautiful manicured lawn Mark spent every Sunday mowing. I'm going to help him, I said. I'm going to help him become the man he portrays on that app. A man with nothing to lose, because he'll have nothing left. The next morning, I didn't confront him. That's the mistake most women make. They scream, they throw a vase, they pack a bag, and they leave. And then what? The man keeps the house, keeps the reputation, and tells everyone his crazy ex lost her mind. No. I wanted more than an apology. I wanted his world to catch fire while I toasted marshmallows over the embers. I waited until he left for work. I called out of my job. I'm a data architect, ironically enough. I know how to find things that people think are deleted. I sat down at my desk and started a spreadsheet. I called it Project Terminus. I needed to know the extent of the rot. I logged into our shared Amazon account. I looked at the hidden orders. There it was, jewelry sent to an address in Greensboro. Lingerie, sizes that weren't mine, sent to a P.O. box. I spent 8 hours that first day just mapping the timeline. He wasn't just cheating, he was financing a double life with our wedding fund. We had a high-yield savings account that we both contributed to. I checked the balance. It was $22,000 short. He had been skimming. 1,000 here, 500 there. He thought I wouldn't notice because I trusted him to handle the big finances. Around 2 p.m., my best friend, Sarah, called. She's a lawyer, The kind who enjoys the smell of blood in a courtroom. Elena, I found the venue for the bridal shower. It's gorgeous. Are you free to look at pictures? I stared at my spreadsheet, at the list of women Mark had slept with while I was at my grandmother's bedside. Sarah, I said, my voice sounding like it was coming from a long way off. I need you to come over. And bring your laptop. I need to know the laws regarding shared assets and digital privacy in this state. There was a long silence on the other end. Sarah knows my tone. She knows when I'm work Elena, the one who solves impossible coding bugs. Did he hit you? She asked, her voice dropping an octave. No, I replied. He did something much more expensive. When Sarah arrived an hour later, I showed her the spreadsheet. I showed her the screenshots I had taken of his Tinder profile and the messages. I showed her the bank statements. Sarah sat back, her face pale. Elena, this isn't just an affair. This is financial fraud. He's been using your signature for some of these transfers. I know, I said. And that's why I'm not leaving. Not yet. What are you going to do? I looked out the window at the beautiful manicured lawn Mark spent every Sunday mowing. I'm going to help him, I said. I'm going to help him become the man he portrays on that app. A man with nothing to lose, because he'll have nothing left. The weeks that followed were a masterclass in acting. I should have won an Oscar. I kissed him when he came home. I listened to him complain about his boss, Mr. Henderson. I even initiated sex, though every time he touched me, I felt a wave of nausea so strong I had to bite my tongue to keep from gagging. I needed him to feel safe. I needed him to feel untouchable. I started small. Mark's boss, Arthur Henderson, was an old-school conservative, a man who valued family integrity above all else. Mark was being groomed for a VP position. It was a role that came with a massive bonus and stock options, options that, if we were married, would be half mine. I began befriending Arthur's wife, Margaret. I joined her gardening club. I volunteered for the same charities. I became the sweet, devoted fiancé of their star employee. One afternoon, over tea, I let a slip happen. Oh, Mark is so dedicated, I told Margaret, sighing wistfully. Sometimes I worry he's working too hard. He's been staying at the office until 2 a.m. lately. He says the new project is just consuming him. Margaret frowned. That's strange, dear. Arthur was saying the office has been a ghost town after 6 p.m. since they finished the quarterly audit. I let my eyes go wide. I let a small, practiced tremble enter my lip. Oh, maybe he's working from a satellite branch? I'm sure there's a logical explanation. Mark would never lie to me. I saw the seed plant. Margaret was a gossip. By dinner that night, Arthur would know that Mark was lying about his hours. Meanwhile, I was busy on the digital front. I didn't just want to catch him. I wanted to be him. I created a profile. Sultry Siren 89. No face, just a silhouette of a blonde. My hair color. I set my location to his office building. Within 2 hours, he had swiped right. The notification on my burner phone felt like a physical sting. Mark. Hey there. You look like trouble. The good kind. I sat on the sofa next to him while he typed that. I watched his thumbs move. I felt the vibration of his phone against the cushion. Me, as Siren, I'm the best kind of trouble. But I'm picky. I like men who are committed to their work. Mark, I'm very committed. But I'm looking for a promotion in my personal life. Are you free Friday? Friday. Friday was our anniversary. 3 years since our first date. He had told me he had to work late on a special merger. I looked at him. Everything okay, honey? He didn't even look up. Yeah, just work. Henderson is riding my ass about the merger. I might have to stay super late Friday. I'm so sorry, Elle. I'll make it up to you this weekend. Of course, I said, smiling like a saint. Work comes first. I understand. I went to the kitchen to pour a glass of wine. My hand didn't shake. I was no longer the victim. I was the architect of his ending. But I needed a smoking gun that couldn't be explained away. I needed something that would destroy him not just in my eyes, but in the eyes of the law and his prestigious firm. I began to look into the merger he was talking about. Mark wasn't just cheating on me. He was getting sloppy with his skimming. I found a file on his home computer, one he thought was encrypted. It wasn't. It was a ledger of expenses that didn't exist. He was using company funds to pay for his hotel rendezvous, masking them as client dinners. He wasn't just a cheater. He was an embezzler. The Thursday before our anniversary, Mark came home late. He smelled like gin and that sandalwood perfume. He was celebratory. The merger is a go, Elle. If Friday goes well, the VP spot is mine. We're talking a 40% raise. He grabbed me by the waist and spun me around. I felt like I was being held by a snake. That's amazing, Mark. Truly. You deserve everything that's coming to you. He laughed, oblivious. Let's celebrate. Let's open that bottle of Bordeaux we were saving for the wedding. As he went to the cellar, his phone rang. He'd left it on the counter. Usually he was more careful, but he was high on his own perceived success. It was a text from Sasha 22. The room is booked. Room 402. Don't be late this time, big boss. And bring that champagne you promised. I didn't delete it. I didn't even touch it. I just looked at it. Mark came back up, bottle in hand. He saw me standing near the phone. His eyes flickered, a flash of the predator's instinct. He lunged for the phone, checking it. Work? I asked innocently. Yeah, he snapped, his tone suddenly sharp. Just Henderson. He's a micromanager. He spent the rest of the night on edge, snapping at me for the smallest things. The perfect fiancé mask was slipping. He was stressed because he was juggling too many lies. He was starting to view me not as his partner, but as an obstacle to his fun. You know, he said, staring at his wine glass. Sometimes I feel like this house, this life, it's a bit suffocating, don't you think? Like we're so young to be so settled. The gaslighting was starting. He was laying the groundwork to blame me for his eventually leaving. He wanted to make it my fault. He wanted to say I was too boring, too demanding, too settled. I'm sorry you feel that way, I said softly. I just want you to be happy, Mark. Whatever that looks like. He looked at me, and for a second I saw a flicker of guilt. Or maybe it was just pity. You're a good girl, Elena. You really are. A good girl. That was the moment I decided I wouldn't just take the house. I wouldn't just take the money. I would take his dignity. Friday morning arrived. Mark left early to prep for the big meeting. I didn't go to work. I went to a rental car agency and got a nondescript gray sedan. I went to a hardware store. I went to a specialty electronics shop. Then I went to the hotel. The Grand Regency. I knew the manager. Or rather, I knew his secret. 2 years ago, I'd found his lost dog and refused the reward. He'd told me if I ever needed a favor, to call. I need access to the service corridor on the 4th floor, I told him. And I need to see the guest registry for tonight. He hesitated. Elena, that's a lot to ask. Privacy laws. He's embezzling from his firm, George. And he's doing it in your rooms. If the police come with a warrant, it's going to look very bad for the Regency's discreet reputation. I showed him a printout of the ledger. He led me to the back elevator. By 3 p.m., I had a high-definition pinhole camera installed in the smoke detector of room 402. It was linked to a private cloud server. By 5 p.m., I was sitting in my rental car in the parking lot, my laptop open on the passenger seat. At 6:15 p.m., Mark's BMW pulled into the valet. He wasn't alone. Sasha was younger than me. Much younger. She had the kind of artificial tan and bleached hair that screamed, expensive mistake. She was laughing, leaning into him. Mark had his hand on the small of her back, the same way he used to hold me. I watched them on my screen. They entered the room. Mark popped the champagne, the one he'd bought with our joint account. To the future, he said on the screen, raising a glass. To getting out of that stifling house and away from that boring life. Sasha giggled. What about the good girl? Mark laughed, a sound that made my skin crawl. Elena? She's a safety net. But once the promotion goes through and I move the rest of the funds, the safety net is getting cut. I've already started the paperwork to sell the house. She doesn't know her name isn't actually on the new deed. I fixed that at the closing. My blood turned to ice. He hadn't just cheated. He'd stolen the roof over my head. He had forged my signature on the deed papers. This wasn't just a breakup anymore. This was war. I picked up my phone. I didn't call the police. Not yet. I called Arthur Henderson. Arthur? It's Elena. I'm so sorry to bother you on a Friday night, but I'm at the Grand Regency, and I think Mark has had a medical emergency. He was acting so strange, and he wandered into a room with a young woman. I think he's had a breakdown. He's in room 402. Please, he respects you so much. I don't know who else to call. I'm too scared to go in alone. I heard Arthur's heavy breathing on the other end. Room 402? Elena, are you sure? Please, Arthur. Hurry. He's talking about mergers that don't exist. He sounds insane. I hung up. Now the stage was set. I watched the screen. Mark and Sasha were on the bed. The scene was disgusting, a betrayal captured in 4K resolution. And then, there was a heavy knock on the door. Mark froze. Who is it? Mark, it's Arthur. Open this door immediately. Elena is worried sick. Mark's face went from lust to pure, unadulterated terror in 0.5 seconds. He scrambled for his pants. Sasha began to scream. But I wasn't watching the door. I was watching my laptop. I wasn't just recording the affair. I was uploading the Project Terminus folder to the entire company's internal server. Every employee, from the mailroom to the board of directors, was about to receive an email titled, The Real Cost of the VP Promotion, a Financial Audit of Mark Stevens. I clicked Send. And then, I saw the hotel room door burst open. But as Arthur walked in, followed by 2 security guards, I noticed something on the camera that I hadn't seen before. Sasha wasn't just a mistress. As she scrambled to cover herself, a black bag fell off the nightstand. It spilled open. Inside weren't just clothes. There were stacks of cash, bound in the same bands used by Mark's firm. And a passport, with Mark's photo, but a different name. Mark wasn't just planning to leave me. He was planning to disappear. And he wasn't going alone. The chaos in room 402 was only the beginning of the end. While Mark stood frozen, his life's work and his secret exit strategy crumbling in front of his boss's disgusted eyes, I didn't wait around to play the grieving fiancé. I was already moving. The email I sent had gone viral within the company's server. By the time Mark was escorted out of the Grand Regency in handcuffs, not for the affair, but for the embezzlement Arthur Henderson could no longer ignore. His reputation was a smoking crater. But I had one final move. The passport and the cash I'd seen on the camera weren't just for a getaway. They were the evidence of a secondary shadow account Mark had been funneling money into for years. Using the digital breadcrumbs I'd gathered, I didn't go to the police first. I went to a high-stakes forensic accountant and a shark of a divorce attorney who specialized in domestic fraud. Because we weren't married yet, Mark thought I had no claim to his private assets. He was wrong. In our state, his forgery of my signature on the house deed was a felony. His use of our joint funds to finance his embezzlement was another. I gave him a choice. I visited him in the county lockup 3 days later. He looked pathetic in his orange jumpsuit, the J. Crew polish completely stripped away. "Why, Elena?" he whispered, pressing his forehead against the glass. "I loved you." "No," I said, my voice as flat as a dial tone. "You loved having a safety net while you climbed a ladder made of lies. Here's the deal, Mark. You sign over every cent in the offshore account, the one for Sasha and your new life. You sign a confession regarding the deed forgery, admitting I am the sole owner of the property. You do this, and I tell the DA that I don't want to testify. You'll still go away for the embezzlement, but you won't spend 20 years in a federal pen for the rest." "You're heartless," he spat. "I'm a data architect," I corrected him. "I just optimized the outcome." He signed. He had no choice. He was a predator who had finally been outcalculated by his prey. 6 months later, the house was sold. I didn't want the memories, but I certainly wanted the $450,000 in equity. Mark is currently serving a 7-year sentence for corporate fraud and embezzlement. His Sasha vanished the moment the handcuffs clicked. Turns out, she was an escort he'd promised a fairy tale to, and she wasn't about to wait for a man with a prison ID. I moved to the coast. I bought a place with a view of the Atlantic, far away from the suburbs of North Carolina and the ghost of the woman who was too boring to be respected. I still have the Project Terminus folder on a thumb drive in my safe. Sometimes, when I'm sitting on my balcony with a glass of wine, the expensive kind Mark used to hide from me, I look at it. Not out of sadness, but as a reminder. Trust is a gift. But silence is a weapon. And I've always been very good with my tools.